Hello everyone, I'm Renown Zero. We are back again talking about an interesting topic, apparently referring to a return policy from the Ripperverse. Of course, it's not really that interesting. It's just a bunch of concerned trolls doing their concern trolling as they always do, constantly worrying about what other people's purchases are and how other companies handle certain things, because apparently it only affects one company. No, this type of thing apparently affects others, because there are multiple instances of other people sending out product that shouldn't be sent out because it's misprinted. We'll get into all of that just after a couple of promotions. Of course, we have the Saints and Sinners number 1, currently sitting at 5,861 total books sold and over 206,000 in total sales, with a couple of short stories written by Eric July, Jay David, who wrote Acrobatic Chronicles Blue and Green. You have As from Heel vs. Babyface, Callum Edmonds, aka Mauler, the Soska Sisters, and Will Jordan, also known as the Critical Drinker. So you can get in on this. They're supposed to be releasing a hardcover, which is what I'm waiting for before I purchase this item, as well as, getting 60% off, because that's going to be awesome to get a bunch of product at 60% off, a bunch of cover Ds, as well as this book at a discount, which would be super nice. You have Horseman number 1 at 338,301 total sales at 11,482 in total books sold. This is the first issue of an ongoing series by Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett after they came out with Welcome to Flores Park, which was an absolute fantastic book. Then you have Yara number 3 sitting at 183,777 total sales at 6,226 in total books sold. Absolutely, always the most important metric is the books sold, not exactly the sales, because as usual, clowns online will tell you that, oh, these things are failing. Meanwhile, they forget to mention that the books got cheaper and the books got smaller, so the amount of pages will, of course, be compared to by the price, or the price will change based on the number of pages. So they'll tell you, oh, this is a $30 book. It's like, no, it's $15 to get in with cover D. Like, I don't understand why they think people are forced to pay a higher price for a cover or to get access to a book. So, same thing with Mighty Golden Patriot, sitting at 86,235 total sales, not including shipping, taxes, and other fees, at 3,201 total books sold. Again, the barrier of entry has been lowered, so this book is at $17 for the cheapest cover you could possibly get. I did purchase the cover C because that is the best cover in my opinion, illustrated by Rini, and it is the foil cover. And I also did get cover D as my read cover. So we're gonna get into this really quick, where this person saying that Ripperverse accountability. This person says, Eric says, I'm not sure where this information is coming from, but it's false. Our return process has never worked like this, as we will fund shipping in addition to issuing refunds, which they have. They have issued refunds, and they have funded shipping for replacements and exchanges. I am one of those people who has returned a Great War Separation number 1 book due to a binding issue, and I did not have to pay the return shipping for the book for an exchange. Additionally, the 60% off the next order applies to all Zaylan customers, regardless of refund status. So, regardless or not, if you return the book and get a refund, you still get the 60% off your next order. And this person will post this, which is their general statement for books that are not damaged, not destroyed, not messed up in any way, shape, or form. This is for people returning a product that is not damaged and has been perfect condition. This is going to be very important for a later portion of the video, so pay attention and keep this in mind. That they cannot be held responsible for goods damaged or lost in return shipment. Therefore, we recommend an insured and trackable mail service. We are unable to issue a refund without actual receipt. This policy is about undamaged goods when the errors aren't ours, when the item is returned in good, sufficient condition, and they just want to return. It has absolutely nothing to do when the error is on us or like a faulty product. Keep that in mind. Where Yanzi, as always, will lie by omission, having zero evidence to prove that this is the only type of policy that the person has. She says, our return policy has never worked like this, pulling up a quote from the Ripperverse website saying, you will be responsible for paying your own shipping costs for returning your item. Shipping costs are not refundable. Again, this is for items that are not damaged, that they just want to simply return. This is literally a policy that multiple other websites have on their site. This isn't a new thing. Eric is now apparently the inventor of return policies, according to Yanzi. To where you get corrected, he says, "Sorry for your confusion. You're referencing our general return policy, which covers non-damaged items. We have a lax return policy that's separate from our damaged goods process. When the error is on us, we've always covered reshipping costs, and customers can vouch for that." So of course you double down and you say, "Thanks for clarifying," but then you go on to say, "When did you and your employees knowingly ship misprinted books?" As if this is a thing exclusive to the Rippaverse. This is concern trolling. This is a thing that you're concerning yourself with when these aren't your customers. These are people that you don't care about. These are people like myself who no longer shop with 9 Lives Comics, because for me personally, your husband Shane Davis, or Smug Davis, or Shane Davis as he's called by me, I've called him Smug Davis, I started that, decided to knowingly and willingly be obtuse and say that I was trying to sue him or get him sued by Sega, and saying that I tagged Sega. You included me, or he included me in that, and it wasn't me. And that is exactly why I no longer shop with 9 Lives Comics. You yourself have had misprints from printing. Obviously, you flipped through it and you didn't ship it out. Congratulations, misprints seem to happen with you as well. But it's also hilarious how Little Black Riding Hood from Ethan Van Sciver, written by John Malin, was shipped out with misprints, with stuff missing. So, from Student of God says, Shane attacks EVS. I don't think I really fully call it that. Below is a misprinted book from Ethan Van Sciver, Little Black Riding Hood. It affected the entire run. EVS offers 0 refunds, 0 emails to backers about the issue, 0 apologies, 0 discounts. Book only had 11 pages for $25 from PayPix. Now, again, I'm going to say this, it's all alleged, but more than likely true because of how EVS acts. Will Shane Davis hold his friend to the same standards, or is it all fake outrage? Shane did another video about Eric July today. Why? Because his last video was his most watched video he has had in 11 months. Of course, because Eric July is a huge topic to discuss. And Shane feels the need that he has to talk about this, even though he claims to not involve himself in drama. He's literally surrounded by the biggest drama farmer weirdo out there. Of course, Malin says he has this OCD about book lettering, and here's the book that was put out. Literally an empty bubble. An empty bubble. Yes, an empty word bubble in a comic book for $25. I agree with John Malin that lettering is important. This below is a picture from John Malin's book Black Riding Hood that EVS published in 2023. As you can see, don't have any text in this box. This is supposed to be a word bubble and there's no text. Missing text in Little Black Riding Hood from John Malin, published by Ethan Van Sciver. The people responsible for this offer never offered free returns or a 60% coupon. How interesting. How interesting. But let's go even further. So recently, Alazmat, shout out, friend of the channel, recently put out a video exposing Richard C. Meyer, comics, diversity in comics with your boy Zach, who sent out an entire print run of his book Pandemic that had a misprint, in which he tried to call out Eric for saying that he shipped out a book with a misprint, yet he literally sat there and did the exact same thing. Let's listen to what Richard C. Meyer has to say himself. A reviewer pointed it out, which means that the book was shipped out with this error, this misprint, inside the book. So you're literally sitting here criticizing Eric July for sending out a misprint, a little small detail. Nothing as serious as this. This is horrible. They're like full pencils inside here. But you're going to sit there and criticize Eric July for doing what, a misprint? He offered refunds as well as a 60% off even if you don't refund the book. So you sent out a misprinted book to your customers that a reviewer caught, And yet you're sitting there criticizing Eric for doing the same thing. Wow. By the way, I'm going to link this video in the chat, in the description. Please go check it out. And then you have Edwin Boyette saying, perhaps you should figure out, this is to Yanzi, how to consistently file standard corporate filings before criticizing other publishers. This is Business 101. You can choose to build your YouTube content around performative and hyperbolic criticism of the comic book publishers or creators, but it nominally opens you up to similar criticism and it's factual nonsense. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. Wow. And then you have one of the cyber cucks out there saying, haha, they already changed the website and ripitards are already calling Yanzi a liar. They're worse than the fake news protecting Biden and Kamala before and after. So this is an updated FAQ. Okay? Keep that in mind. It's an updated FAQ. That's perfectly fine. I don't see the issue with that. And I go on to say, so updating your FAQ to make it more clear is a bad thing now? Says people are calling someone a liar while presenting zero evidence. Considering how many people have vouched for Eric on exchanges in the past and the fact that Eric himself had to correct her and she got BTFO'd as usual, I say you weirdos are literally continue to show how much you're in a cult. Performative gay ops as the fans of the Rippaverse continue to win. This drama nonsense is so boring. Because it is. Like, these guys have no actual criticisms of the actual books. All they do is just say it's dog crap and they move on. They don't actually purchase the products. They don't really care about this at all. They're just trying to see it as a W against Eric, or an L for Eric, as they would say, in order to damage his reputation in business. Correct? So, what does it say now? It says, damaged items will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. This is something that's always been a thing. We'll get into it even more. Like I said already, I had a binding issue with my Great War Separation #1 and was able to return it without paying for shipping and received a new copy within a couple days. Errors on our part, misprints, etc. can be returned to us with a full refund and a shipping label provided by us at no additional cost once reviewed by the customer service team. Now, am I the only one that's had this issue? No. We had other people like MG here who says, I had a damaged ISOM #1 that clearly has some manufacturing issues that wouldn't have been seen without opening the book. Sent some photos and had a new book within days. The customer service has been there since the start. So this is a person who had a problem with the very first book. The very first book that was put out by the Rippaverse in 2022. And yet they got their book replaced, no problem. Matt goes on to say, I can confirm this. They shipped me the wrong item. They made it right. All costs, including international import duties and fees, were covered. So not only did they cover shipping, they covered import fees, import duties, and fees for international. So you even have people internationally confirming that they pay the cost. You have Straw Hat Guy here. I've literally returned damaged goods and received replacements at no cost to me several times. The fug is this shiz? It's got to keep it YouTube friendly. I've also returned a Yaira #1 that was sent to me with the wrong size. So that's another thing. And then this person, this Ethan Van Sciver simp, because you should never take their opinion seriously if you're going to literally post that you're a simp for another man. What are the odds that Rippaverse is still publishing 18 months from today? So, the timeline serves me correctly. ISOM #1 dropped in 2022. They said it was going to be a one-hit wonder. Then ISOM #2 came out. Then they shifted the goalpost saying it wasn't going to be a multi-million-dollar campaign. It was. Then they said there would never be an ISOM #3. And then Alpha Core #1 came out. That was another $1 million campaign. Then Yaira #1 came out. Another $1 million campaign. Things that have multiple goals. And as well as, just fun facts, Alpha Core #1 outsold Cyberfrog 2. Brand new IP, not an IP from the 90s, a brand new IP outsold Cyberfrog 2. As far as sales and as far as books sold. So I go on to say, you just sound miserable. We've been through this weird era of concern trolling and pocket watching individuals who claimed 2 years ago that ISOM would be a one-hit wonder, and then ISOM 2 came out and then everything that followed. These feeble attempts at gay ops and hoping someone fails due to jealousy and envy are at levels we've never seen before. All simply because he subverted the expectation that waiting years for product does not equal quality, and you shouldn't waste your money on people who would ultimately produce nothing of value. Because you even have other weirdos who are making comics and haven't produced absolute nothing. But if we want to get into this even further, just to pull it all together and wrap this up, this is the return policy for Big Bad Toy Store. This isn't a new thing. It's never been a new thing. Again, these guys make it out to be that Eric is now the inventor of return policies, and this is the type of nonsense people are focusing on rather than focusing on good indie comics. So it says, return shipping, domestic customers. If the return is due to our error or damaged or defective product, we will cover any return shipping fees as long as the return is completed through a Big Bad Toy Store return option, a prepaid label provided by us. If you choose a self-return option, a carrier or service of your choice, you will pay the cost charged by the carrier selected, and you will not be reimbursed. We are not responsible for any lost or damaged packages through a self-return option. Wow, it's almost as if it's almost as if it's the same exact thing. It's almost if it's the same exact thing. If the return is for any other reason, we will not pay for the return shipping fees, and you will be responsible for all shipping costs without reimbursement. We are not responsible for any lost or damaged packages returned to us. Wow, it's almost as if it's the exact same policy as a vendor. As a vendor of other products. By the way, just take a quick jab. This is the same vendor that Cyberfrog 2 toys are on sale on. You know, the other thing that Eric July apparently invented, which is sales. What we should be focusing on as people who enjoy indie comics are purchasing indie comics that are great. Like Heroic Tales number 2 with Heroic Tales number 1. I'm sure Heroic Tales number 2 is going to be a fantastic book, and there are multiple stretch goals for this. With trading cards all having amazing art drawn by Renzo Rodriguez. Fantastic art. That man is a great artist. And you can get it over on Fund My Comic. Again, I'm going to leave links to everything in the description of this video. You could follow Phenomenova issue number 3, and you can also grab Phenomenova's issue 1 and 2 on RebelOasisStudios.com. I will leave links again in the description. You could follow along with Relentlessly Bully Hero number 3, and it'll have a catch-up pack with 1 and 2 as well. You will see multiple covers like this one, and this one to get. You can also see interiors. This is a great book if you are into stories like My Hero Academia and One Punch Man. And then last but not least, Angels of the Renaissance putting out Under God Volume 1. I'm still waiting on Volume 2, which he said it would be done, which is fine. He's drawing it all himself and doing everything else himself, so I can understand the slight delay. That's perfectly fine. When Under God Volume 2 goes for sale, I will be picking it up and reading it, because I'm sure it's going to be awesome. If you want your little Attack on Titan fix, I highly recommend this book. So, at the end of the day, again, back the indie comics you like, ignore the indie comics you do not like, and move on with your life. And if you do have something to say about a comic that you don't like, you say your piece and you move on. You don't consistently hammer in on that book all the time. It's a boring way to live. It's a miserable way to live. And people need to stop being so miserable about other purchases and other companies that they do not support. Thank you all for checking out this video. I really do appreciate all the new subscribers, returning subscribers, new viewers, and returning viewers. If you do like this video, smash the like button. Comment below what you feel about this. Subscribe for more content. Hit the bell for notifications. Set the bell to all. That way you'll get a notification anytime I post a new video. Go live on the channel. Consider becoming a member for just $1 a month. There's a join button down below this video. You get access to emojis during live streams, as well as members-only content as well. If you don't want to spend the buck, that's okay too. I do appreciate you watching the videos and jumping in on live streams to chat, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.